How many miles of blood vessels do you think we have in our body? Take a guess. Blood vessel.
I'll take the whole.
1,000 is a little high. Of 60,000. 60,000 miles of blood vessels, enough to circulate the planet twice, or our planet twice. So the key to longevity is to protect those blood vessels. What's the first organ that forms when you're in your lung?
The heart.
Yes. And together with the heart are vessels. So the way to keep those vessels elastic is through endurance exercise, more so than strength exercise. Let me repeat that. Science points to the endurance exercise as being more effective for the plasticity of the vessels over a period. And I'm just going to isolate on the core things you need to remember. From the age of 35 to 55 is when your work on the plasticity of your vessels matters the most. That's when you're training those vessels to become more elastic after 55. Now, if you're doing consistent exercise from 35 all the way to 55, by the time you're 55 and they open your heart up, as long as you're not in and outing yourself twice a day, your blood vessels should reflect that of a to the quality of your vessels. Those of you who have been doing triathlon, running, going to different parts of the country, doing exercise, you know how much you've done and how much you haven't done. And that will have a material impact on your arterial health. The way they find out how elastic your arterial health is, they measure blood flow from this side down to your feet to see how fast it travels. You can use by ultrasound. You can use blood pressure device to measure it. It's not rocket science. The longer it takes, the longer vessels are less elastic. Can you reverse heart? Yes, you can. And this is why there's a lot of push in society now on why you should eat whole food plant-based diet. I eat meat, I eat fish, I eat everything, but you want to lean more towards the side of whole food plant-based, because if you have 60,000 miles of blood vessel, what travels through those blood vessels? It's the word we hate when we're at a doctor's office.
Cholesterol.
Cholesterol, lipids. What does statin do? Thins out the cholesterol, the lipids. But there's a lot of side effects to statin. There's different grades of statin, different strengths. There's endothelial cells, which is the lining of your vessels, is like Teflon. You know, like a Teflon pan? So when you get a new Teflon pan, it's really exciting because everything works. Like you can cook tofu. You don't need to put olive oil on it. Butter, it just slides around. But after time, the Teflon wears out. And then the sticky stuff starts to, that icky stuff that sticks on our artery is known as plaque. And oily food, high in cholesterol, dulls the endothelial cells, so that reduces the Teflon from your arteries. To eat that healthy all day long? No, you can manage it, right? So you can have steak a couple of times a month, high quality steak. I don't want to use super oily. You probably don't want to char grill it. You probably don't want all those things you already know. But this is part of the reason why you want to make sure that your diet related to saturated fat is kept at a minimum. butter, unfortunately, is not good for you. Neither is bacon. High in saturated fat means high in cholesterol means higher chances of clogged arteries. Heart disease accumulates over 20 years, not 20 months. 20 years, not 20 months. When it starts to describe itself to you, will be in your most likely mid-50s. That is when you're losing the elasticity of your vessels 1% per year. So a lot of us will say, hey, yeah, got a heart attack. Got a problem. That didn't just happen overnight. That happened from the late night in and out, Wendy's in college, all the way through to present day. So how do you reverse arterial plaque? It's possible. It's actually possible. So there's new science coming out that says, listen, if you eat really clean, if you exercise not once a day, twice a day, it's not how long you exercise, it's frequency over intensity, time, and type. So I'm just chapter one, make sure you take care of your arteries, make sure that you try to eat as close possible to a lower cholesterol diet. And then you can sprinkle in the occasional potato chips. 5 days a week is not going to get the job done. The viscosity of the blood increases. That viscosity will cause the arteries to clog. All right. So think about it as a sock. This is a very common analogy. You would give a sock, you put the hand through the sock was clogged. Stents, balloons, they don't fix the problem. They just temporarily pass a situation. I think everyone's got that clear. So exercise, you have this thing called a stem cell. The stem cell's on a circadian rhythm. It wakes up every 12 hours. Morning exercise starts at 6. At 6 at night, it goes dormant again. You have to wake it up. You do not need to go for a half-hour run or you don't have to go that long. Go out for a walk, 10 minutes, you wake up your stem cells. Your body's like, okay, I'm still here. So you much rather do 3 bouts of 10-minute exercise, if you prefer, 10 minutes fast, 10 minutes vigorous, 10 minutes moderate, than 1 bout of 30 minutes after work or before. Really important. This is longitudinal science accumulated in the last 40 years with them studying large cohorts, large bodies of people over time.
What's that you want?
Before you want every 12 hours, you want your body to move. And we have studies coming out that shows dog ownership. Consider because you're forcing yourself to walk with the dogs. That's pretty recent information. How much more do you move per day if you had a dog? 26 minutes move. Your mortality is longer. You're more likely to move 4 times.
We do see more people walking dogs than people walking.
Very important. Very important. It's not longevity and fitness are 2 very different problems, right? Fitness is how fast can you run. If you want to know how fast you can run and how fit you are, there's this thing called VO2 max, which is how much oxygen you can process per minute. That means everyone has an inherent VO2 max. Your baseline VO2 max, you're given. Some people are born with a very high VO2 max. Say 50 would be high. Most people are born with 30. You take a person with 30 VO2 max and 50 VO2 max, and you give them an Olympian coach to train them how to run. Person who has a 30 VO2 max may respond very little to the exercise dosage. We call that less genetically gifted. Person with a God-given 50 VO2 max may not respond to the training either. How you respond to training has no direct correlation to your VO2 max. That's a That's a that's a miss. That's a myth, people think. However, how early you exercise, meaning, are you the guy who was the fastest kid in your class in first grade, in kindergarten? Were you always first, second, or third? Were you number one, number two on sports day? Were you? That has a material impact on your livelihood. Because what you're doing at an early stage is you're prepping the heart for a higher stroke volume. As you become fitter, what happens? Your heart rate drops. So how do you have lower heart rate compared to a person who doesn't do sports? A person who doesn't do sports has a resting heart rate of 70 beats per minute. That's 50. Elite athletes 42 to 35. How does a person with lower heart rate produce more power than someone who has a higher one? Doesn't make any sense. Well, each beat has a larger stroke volume. That makes sense. More, it's 2 pumps again. VO2 max. So don't kill yourself trying to get your VO2 max up. It's relative to what your VO2 max was 6 months ago, not relative to your friend's VO2 max. Now, that'll drop down to another really key indicator, which all of you are probably familiar with. These two metrics are important.
We have a range.
Everybody can watch on planet Earth has HRV. Okay, when they were studying cardiovascular symptoms and people who were prone to have heart attacks, were going to have heart attacks, what did they discover? Months leading up to that incident, their heart rate variability was very low. And to that person's heart rate variability. So let's say someone healthy, maybe you have in middle age, like 30, 35, 40, maybe you're at 60, maybe you're 70. Let's say your 50s, your basic. If you wake up in the morning in your fancy garment, your fancy Apple Watch, your fancy Chorus watch tells you that your HRV is 20 below 6, something's wrong. Something wrong. So that's actually the best indicator for your health.
You obviously be worn out from the day before, right?
Yeah, but you want to look at it on a consistent basis, right? So some people wear Aura Ring, Whoop Ring, overtraining. Really, if you overtrain, you can go out and you can train for an ultra marathon, come back, your heart rate variability will drop, but it will not drop nearly as much as if you went out and had 2 shots of tequila. That without your heart rate.
So my HRV is like 60 to
Yes.
70. I heard Mount Whitney that dropped to like a 20.
Yes.
The next night it went up to 110. Yeah, it's insane. I've never seen that.
Yeah. So when you, part of the reason is, well, after you finish Mount Whitney, it's 100% depleted of glycogen. Most likely, depending on how much you ate. And you probably, Whitney's a long one, and when you're at altitude, you also will utilize more of your proteins, etc. So that evening, you're going to drop. The rebound is your vessels like, and it brings in the nutrients a lot faster. Yeah. So there are 2 ways for your body to filter out the sugar in your bloodstream. The first way is through insulin. Body's pumping insulin, pancreas secretes insulin. Insulin takes the sugar and the glucose into the muscle. The second way is directly into the muscle through exercise. So exercise is the best way to treat diabetes, 1 or 2. You just have to be sensitive to hypoglycemia so you don't faint. Well, we're jumping a little bit to that, but that's the most effective way to manage blood glucose. Now, at H1, your fasting glucose is important. Your 30-day, 60-day, 90-day hemoglobin or H1AC blood count is important. What's most important is your diet, because athletes respond to sugar different. You cannot not eat sugar. Like you can't just go to YouTube and some doctors you know what? We're not going to eat sugar today. No, you have to take sugar because your body runs out of glycogen within 24 hours. So you can store up to 3 hours of glycogen on you. Within a 3-hour marathon, you're toast. There's no more glycogen. The only way you can get glycogen into your bloodstream is exogenous. That's why there's all of those gels and stuff. It's the only way to get it in. You front load, you're actually always at a deficit, so you front load. And you'll notice this in your races or start racing is if you stop taking in the gels after a half Ironman, electrolytes, salt being depleted, not that training, you did the long run, you did the long ride, you did the brick workout, you did everything humanly possible, right? To go into that metabolic stability. So what time is the best time to exercise, you guys think?
1.
Keep going.
Nighttime.
Nighttime?
Whenever you can. Whenever your body's most recovered.
The best time
That's high stage HRV.
the best time to exercise according to researchers is 4 p.m. Is the optimal time. Now, if you've been exercising already at 6 a.m. every day, if you've been doing that consistently for 3 months, the best time for you to exercise is when? 6 a.m. Body have clock will adjust. No need to move it to full. But if you're just getting started, pick a time to stick to it as your core, and then you can supplement your second exercise. You do the hard workout in that first exercise, and the second exercise really should be just walking. Make sense? Yes, sir.
To clarify, so I wake up out of bed, I should go for a walk. It counts as exercise to wake up my stamina.
Yes.
And then at 4 o'clock, I go do a run. And then I'm done. Like as long as I do those 2 things,
You're done.
I'm shit up.
And not only are you done, there's 4 different types of key things that we can do for resistance, flexibility, neuromotor. 4 of these. The 2 most important are aerobic and resistance. Neuromotor, flexibility, you know, and that breathing helps you self-regulate. It does.
The nervous system
It's
control.
the nervous system. It's fight or flight, parasympathetic.
Like whatever your brain wants.
Your nervous system.
What's the temperature was?
5.
85.
About 85.
Can you explain the minimum again? 19 minutes to get to the
19 minutes.
minimum?
That's
Minimum.
That's usually maximum.
I sauna.
You can go hotter, you just don't want to go less.
Yeah. Dry sauna. Not infrared. Infrared plateaus at 175 if you're lucky.
It's harder to sweat in infrared, right? Like it takes longer.
Yeah, it's a different. steam dry.
I saw that. And
Yeah.
in the portable goal.
Yes. So let's talk a little bit about like stimulation in terms of exercising. Like how much stimulus do you need to maintain enough health, right? For performance. So performance is, this is pretty much Bible right now. If you want to get faster, perform better, you need to do 1 session a week. That's a speed workout. Whether it's a speed workout on your bike, speed workout on running, speed, you want to walk faster, walk faster. So your body needs that stimulus. It needs that high intensity.
And you so speed is specifically you mean hit or just
Hit is different.
Yeah.
It is interval. Speed is basically you want to, yeah.
Already.
So let's, when we're exercising, we have zone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Some have 6, sometimes 7. Let's just go 5. 90% of your training should be at zone 1.52. Percent of your training, and this is periodized. Let's say we have a race. We're in September. We have a race in September. In September, from September to the end of the year, which is 3 months, you're preparing for a race next year. You can periodize your body to do 90% of your base at zone 2. You don't need to go fast. Oh, you don't even need to do speed workout. Unless you're really trying to go a little bit faster. So you can sprinkle it in. And then from January 1st to March, now you start to increase a little bit of your base running from 90% to 80% is at zone 2. And then you play around with that 10% at high intensity and the other 10 at moderate to high intensity. So zone 3 and zone 5. Make sense? The best way to get stimulus for zone 5 or zone 3 isn't to run fast on a treadmill, isn't to run fast on flat roads, is to run hills or bike hills.
Oh,
Your heart rate will go up naturally, but it won't tax your joints as hard. You try running 5-minute miles, 6-minute miles consistently up until you're 60.
I'm gonna figure out hills. It's fun.
Once you figure out hills, you've kind of cracked the code. Yeah, and you don't necessarily have to run down the hill. Just still run track workouts and get the cadence going. Like you'd be surprised how little of the cadence work you need to get the stimulus to run fast.
are you guys saying there's like a sweet spot when you're, is it tolerable?
There is a sweet spot. It's called slow.
Okay, so it's not fast.
No.
Uphill.
Or you can't.
Okay.
I mean, it's really
You can't.
when you're running uphill, you're running at zone 4, guaranteed.
I found a way to do the fast games of breathing to go uphill
Then
and
you
not
smaller.
waiting and lifting it through. It's a different kind of running.
There's cycling too. You know this better than anyone. Smaller rotations, faster cadence, going uphill. You get that stimulus as well.
Or get an e-bike.
Or get
You can't turn the power off.
Turbo.
e-bike is amazing. You guys more key. Key, I think everyone should know, everyone will get through this, is tendon injury. Do you rest or train through it? Tendon
Well,
injury.
Achilles said we're full, not to train at all.
Wrong.
That's what pull it.
Yeah, wrong. Sorry.
Well, that makes it tighten up. You don't train all right.
Yeah, Copenhagen came out, new study, train through it. Now, we're not saying running. We're saying train through it. I'll explain to you why. I said the same. Because we're taught our generation of the rest. Because your tendons will accumulate fluid inside when it's resting. the fluid causes the tissue in the fascia to expand. That's what causes pain. So motion in the tendons allows for water in the tendons to this. That's it. That's what all these PhDs worked on, and they did it on longitudinals.
There's nothing wrong with pain.
No, in fact, they had a study where this guy had a Achilles issue, and he would do these Achilles, and it was a PhD, one of the guys who did the study, and it went away. Saying that's going to be true all the time,
But for the plantar fasciitis,
plantar fasciitis is over. I can tell you what the real reason for plantar fasciitis is.
mine was barefoot running.
Yours is probably too much barefoot running.
Yes. But they're much more.
You probably did way too. You probably jumped on the foot running.
Went too far.
Yeah. So it is good to do barefoot running, but here's the new science based on what we know today. About 10%, 5 to 10% of your overall activity should be done barefoot, sand, on grass, not on concrete. You don't go out and buy a pair of sandals and start running PCH. That's not how you do it. It should be on softer soil on ground, like grass. That's benefit of barefoot running. Also, science that's coming out from UCLA. They did a 15-year study on the importance of walking around without shoes. Which data set, which group of people live longer? The people who exercise during the day or
So interesting.
isn't this so interesting?
It is, because you think about like all these CEO, entrepreneur, like all these people.
That's a question. What is the benefit of exercising during the day, in the morning?
The sun.
Sun. So when is the worst time to exercise in the sun? 10 to 4. Clear before 10, you're in clear. What's the rate of cancer? What is the most popular cancer? Yeah, cancer.
Mm.
Who's most at risk? Not Asians.
White people.
White people. Asians, followed by Hispanics, followed by blacks, then Asians. What's the incidence? 4 to 5 per thousand versus 1 per thousand. It's a real thing. So be really mindful of that when you're exercising.
They say the body remembers that if you take a long break from exercise and you go back to it, it's quicker to recalibrate
Yeah.
than if you had never done it at all.
It takes
Is
3
that
months to
true?
recalibrate.
3 months.
3 months in your calibrate.
And I'm like, what is that? Why is the body remembering?
The body has an internal clock and it's looking for homeostasis.
So there's like an established baseline,
Yes.
kind of.
Yes.
And when you get back to that baseline,